The Three Magi Mysteries, written and published by Ngasline. The Glandular Trinity. The human brain, a masterpiece of biological engineering, houses three remarkable glands that have captured the imagination of both ancient mystics and modern scientists. These glands, the thalamus, pineal, and pituitary, form what can be called the glandular trinity, a sacred trio that bears striking parallels to religious and spiritual symbolism throughout human history. The story of the three wise men, or magi, who journeyed from the east bearing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, serves as a powerful metaphor for these three master glands and their vital secretions. This ancient tale, far from being merely historical or religious, appears to encode profound biological wisdom about the nature of human consciousness and its potential for transformation. The thalamus, often called the gateway to consciousness, sits at the center of the brain like a watchful guardian. This walnut-sized structure processes nearly all sensory information before it reaches our conscious awareness. Its position and function mirror ancient descriptions of the third eye or inner sight found in numerous spiritual traditions. The thalamus acts as a relay station, directing neural traffic and helping to orchestrate our perception of reality. Above the thalamus lies the pineal gland, a tiny pine cone-shaped organ that produces melatonin and other important neurochemicals. Renowned philosopher René Descartes called it the seat of the soul, and ancient Egyptians depicted it in their art and hieroglyphs. This gland responds to light and darkness, regulating our circadian rhythms and influencing our states of consciousness. Its position in the brain, centered between the two hemispheres, gives it a unique vantage point for influencing our entire neural network. The pituitary gland, though small in size, serves as the master regulator of the endocrine system. Located in a bony cavity at the base of the brain, it produces hormones that affect virtually every part of our body. Ancient texts often referred to this region as the crystal palace or sacred chamber, suggesting an understanding of its crucial role in human physiology and consciousness. These three glands form a triangular arrangement in the brain that corresponds to numerous sacred geometrical patterns found in religious architecture and art. The spatial relationship between these glands creates an energetic field that ancient traditions recognized as crucial for spiritual development and enlightenment. Modern neuroscience is now beginning to understand the electromagnetic properties of these glands and their role in generating and maintaining consciousness. The brain's anatomy reveals other fascinating correlations with religious symbolism. The two hemispheres, connected by the corpus callosum, mirror the concept of duality found in many spiritual traditions. The branching patterns of neurons resemble the sacred tree of life, while the ventricles of the brain contain cerebrospinal fluid in chambers that ancient texts may have described as the waters of life. Understanding these connections between sacred symbolism and brain anatomy opens new perspectives on both spiritual wisdom and scientific knowledge. The glandular trinity represents a bridge between these seemingly disparate fields, suggesting that ancient mystics possessed profound insights into human physiology that they encoded in religious metaphor and symbol. As we explore these connections, we begin to appreciate how the brain's architecture supports not only our basic biological functions, but also our capacity for transcendent experiences and higher states of consciousness. The three magi of our brain, the thalamus, pineal, and pituitary glands, continue to reveal their mysteries through both scientific investigation and spiritual insight, leading us toward a deeper understanding of our own divine nature. Sacred gifts. The ancient wisdom traditions have long recognized the profound connection between physical substances and spiritual states of consciousness. This understanding is perfectly exemplified in the legendary gifts of the three magi, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Modern neuroscience has revealed that these sacred offerings have remarkable parallels with three essential neurotransmitters: dopamine, serotonin, and melatonin. Dopamine, often associated with gold in esoteric traditions, is the neurotransmitter of reward, motivation, and pleasure. Like gold's inherent value in human society, Dopamine drives our sense of worth and importance. It flows through neural pathways, creating feelings of accomplishment, satisfaction, and bliss. The ancients understood gold as a symbol of divine consciousness and enlightenment. Much as dopamine illuminates our internal reward systems and helps maintain our attention on spiritually significant experiences. Frankincense, traditionally burned in religious ceremonies, corresponds to serotonin, often called the happiness molecule. This aromatic resin has been shown to have powerful effects on mood and consciousness. Much like serotonin's role in regulating emotional stability and well-being, serotonin pathways throughout the brain influence our perception of reality, our emotional responses, and our capacity for transcendent experiences. The smoke of frankincense rising to the heavens mirrors serotonin's ability to elevate consciousness and create states of spiritual awareness. Myrrh, with its association with death and rebirth, parallels melatonin's role in regulating sleep-wake cycles and consciousness states. This bitter substance was used in ancient preservation practices, reflecting melatonin's role in maintaining and restoring the body's natural rhythms. Melatonin governs our circadian cycles, influencing our ability to enter different states of consciousness, from deep sleep to meditative awareness. These neurotransmitters work in concert, creating a dynamic balance in brain chemistry that supports both ordinary awareness and extraordinary states of consciousness. Their interaction forms a sacred trinity within our neural architecture, each playing essential roles in perception, emotion, and spiritual experience. The ancient understanding of these relationships, encoded in the symbolism of the Magi's gifts, reveals a sophisticated grasp of consciousness and its chemical foundations. The production and regulation of these neurotransmitters involve complex feedback systems throughout the brain and body. Dopamine pathways extend from the midbrain into the frontal cortex, influencing executive function and decision-making. Serotonin, primarily produced in the gut, affects multiple brain regions and influences nearly every aspect of our mental and emotional lives. Melatonin, synthesized in the pineal gland, orchestrates our natural rhythms and facilitates states of restored consciousness. Understanding these sacred gifts within our own brain chemistry opens new possibilities for spiritual practice and personal development. By recognizing how different activities, thoughts, and experiences influence these neurotransmitters, we can consciously work with our internal chemistry to support spiritual growth. Meditation, prayer, and contemplative practices have been shown to affect these neural systems in profound ways, validating ancient wisdom about the relationship between physical and spiritual reality. Modern research continues to unveil the intricate ways these neurotransmitters interact with consciousness. Their precise balance influences everything from our mood and motivation to our capacity for mystical experiences. The ancient symbol of the three Magi's gifts thus represents not just external substances, but internal sacred chemicals that mediate our experience of divine consciousness. These gifts of sacred brain chemistry represent the biological foundation of spiritual experience, bridging the apparent gap between material and mystical reality. They remind us that the capacity for transcendent experience is built into our very physiology, waiting to be activated through proper understanding and practice. Neural pathways of power. The human body is an intricate network of electromagnetic pathways that connect our physical form to the subtle energies that ancient wisdom traditions have long recognized. Modern science has begun to validate what mystics and spiritual teachers have known for millennia, that our bodies operate as sophisticated electromagnetic systems, with the nervous system serving as a complex network of energy transmission. The neural pathways that crisscross our bodies function like microscopic rivers of electricity, carrying vital information and energy throughout our entire being. These pathways, known scientifically as neural networks, create an elaborate web of communication that connects every cell, tissue, and organ in perfect synchronicity. This biological internet operates at speeds faster than our most advanced computers, transmitting millions of signals per second through specialized cells called neurons. Ancient cultures understood these energy pathways through different frameworks. The Chinese mapped them as meridians. The Indian yogic tradition called them nadis, and other spiritual systems referred to them as light channels or spirit pathways. While the terminology differs, the underlying principle remains consistent. Our bodies contain organized networks for energy flow that influence both physical and consciousness states. The electromagnetic nature of these neural pathways can now be measured and mapped using sophisticated equipment. Scientists have discovered that every nerve impulse generates an electromagnetic field, creating a complex bioelectric matrix throughout the body. This living matrix connects not just through physical nerve fibers, but through electromagnetic field interactions that extend beyond the immediate cellular environment. Energy centers, often called chakras in Eastern traditions, correspond to major nerve plexuses and endocrine glands in the body. These centers act as transformation points where electromagnetic energy is processed and distributed throughout the system. Modern research has found high concentrations of bioelectric activity and neurotransmitter production at these traditional energy center locations, providing a scientific basis for ancient wisdom. The integration of current neuroscience with traditional knowledge reveals how these neural pathways facilitate consciousness expansion and spiritual awareness. As electromagnetic signals flow through the nervous system, they create patterns of activation that correspond to different states of consciousness. Meditation and spiritual practices can directly influence these patterns, leading to altered states and heightened awareness. The human brain processes these electromagnetic signals through specialized structures that act as receivers and transmitters. The thalamus, pineal gland, and pituitary gland form a triangulated network that modulates consciousness through electromagnetic and chemical signaling. This trinity of structures corresponds to the three magi of ancient symbolism, each bringing its unique gifts to the temple of consciousness. Understanding these neural pathways of power provides a bridge between scientific materialism and spiritual wisdom. The electromagnetic nature of neural transmission explains how subtle energy practices like meditation, prayer, and energy healing can influence physical and mental states. The body's natural electromagnetic field interacts with external fields, including those generated by the Earth itself, creating a dynamic interface between individual consciousness and the greater field of universal awareness. Modern research continues to uncover the sophisticated nature of these neural networks, revealing layers of complexity that mirror sacred geometric patterns found throughout nature. The branching patterns of neurons, the spiral arrangements of DNA, and the fractal organization of brain structures all reflect universal principles of energy flow and information processing. This understanding of neural pathways as conduits of power opens new possibilities for consciousness development and spiritual growth. By working with these natural systems through targeted practices, we can enhance our capacity for higher awareness and deeper spiritual connection. The ancient wisdom encoded in religious and spiritual traditions provides a practical framework for engaging with these biological systems in ways that promote transformation and enlightenment. The neural pathways of power represent the living interface between matter and consciousness, between the physical and the spiritual. As science continues to explore these connections, we find ourselves returning to ancient truths with new understanding and appreciation for the profound wisdom they contain. The first magus, neural gnosis. The journey into neural gnosis begins with understanding the remarkable structure known as the thalamus, often called the gateway to consciousness. This walnut-sized region deep within our brain serves as a master relay station, processing nearly all sensory information before it reaches our conscious awareness. Ancient mystics often referred to this area as the chamber of knowing, and modern neuroscience has validated its crucial role in awareness and perception. The thalamus works in concert with dopamine, a neurotransmitter that plays a vital role in how we experience reality. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure and reward. It fundamentally shapes how we perceive and interact with our world. When early religious texts spoke of divine sight or eyes that see, they may have been unknowingly describing the intricate dance between the thalamus and dopamine systems that create our conscious experience. This first magus represents our capacity for direct knowing, or gnosis. Just as gold was presented as a gift in ancient tales, dopamine serves as a precious neural currency that enables us to recognize patterns, make connections, and experience moments of insight. The thalamic systems that regulate dopamine flow are like ancient gatekeepers, determining what information reaches our conscious awareness and what remains in the shadows of our unconscious mind. Neural gnosis manifests through the sophisticated interaction between the thalamus and the cortex, creating what neuroscientists call thalamocortical loops. These neural circuits generate our moment-to-moment conscious experience, including our sense of self and our perception of time. When mystics spoke of divine awareness, they may have been describing states where these circuits operate in optimal harmony, producing experiences of heightened consciousness and clarity. The dopaminergic system extends far beyond the thalamus, creating a vast network that influences motivation, learning, and our sense of meaning. This network bears striking resemblance to ancient descriptions of divine illumination spreading throughout the body. When dopamine flows freely through these pathways, we experience states of heightened awareness, creativity, and insight, experiences that traditional cultures often attributed to divine intervention. Understanding the first magus requires appreciation for the delicate balance within these systems. Too little dopamine can leave us feeling disconnected and unable to find meaning in our experiences. Too much can lead to distorted perceptions and beliefs. The ancient wisdom traditions understood this balance, teaching practices that we now know help regulate these neural systems. The thalamus and its dopamine-mediated networks also play a crucial role in attention and focus. When spiritual traditions speak of developing one-pointed awareness or achieving states of deep concentration, they're describing the optimization of these neural systems. Modern research has shown that meditation practices can enhance the functioning of these networks, leading to improved attention and awareness. Neural gnosis also involves the integration of information across different brain regions. The thalamus acts as a conductor, orchestrating the symphony of neural activity that creates our conscious experience. This integration is essential for what mystics called unified consciousness, the ability to perceive reality as a coherent whole rather than fragmented parts. The first magus teaches us that consciousness isn't just a passive reception of information, but an active process of creation and interpretation. Through the thalamus and dopamine systems, our brains constantly construct our reality, filtering and organizing the vast amount of information bombarding our senses. This understanding bridges ancient wisdom about divine perception with modern neuroscientific insights about consciousness. By understanding these neural mechanisms, we can better appreciate both the wisdom of ancient traditions and the remarkable complexity of our own consciousness. The first magus reminds us that the capacity for heightened awareness and direct knowing is built into our neural architecture, waiting to be awakened through understanding and practice. The second magus, Pineal Wisdom. Deep within the geometric center of the human brain lies a remarkable structure that ancient traditions have long revered as the third eye. The pineal gland, this tiny pine cone-shaped organ, no larger than a grain of rice, serves as a critical nexus between our physical and spiritual nature. The pineal gland's position, at the precise midpoint of the brain, coupled with its unique properties as both an endocrine gland and a light-sensitive organ, gives credence to its historical significance in spiritual traditions worldwide. The pineal gland's primary function involves the production of melatonin, a powerful hormone that regulates our natural cycles of consciousness through sleep-wake patterns. This biological rhythm mirrors larger cosmic cycles, connecting our internal states to the fundamental rhythms of nature. The pineal's ability to respond to light and darkness makes it our primary chronobiological regulator, orchestrating the subtle dance between states of awareness and rest. Ancient mystics understood this gland's importance intuitively, representing it in art and architecture through pine cone imagery found in sacred sites across cultures. From the staff of Osiris in ancient Egypt to the court of the pine cone at the Vatican, this symbol appears repeatedly in religious iconography. Modern science has validated these intuitive insights by revealing the pineal's crucial role in consciousness modulation and spiritual experience. The relationship between melatonin production and spiritual awakening provides fascinating insights into traditional practices. Many spiritual traditions advocate meditation at dawn and dusk, precisely when melatonin levels are in transition. These transitional periods represent optimal windows for accessing altered states of consciousness, as the brain chemistry shifts between different modes of awareness. The pineal gland responds to these changes by adjusting its secretion patterns, potentially facilitating deeper spiritual experiences. Beyond melatonin, the pineal gland also produces other significant compounds, including DMT-dimethyltryptamine, often called the spirit molecule. This naturally occurring psychedelic compound has been linked to profound mystical experiences, near-death experiences, and deep meditative states. The presence of DMT producing capacity within the pineal gland suggests biological basis for transcendent experiences, bridging the gap between physical and spiritual realms. The pineal's role in regeneration extends beyond consciousness regulation. Melatonin serves as a powerful antioxidant, protecting neural tissue from damage and supporting cellular renewal. This regenerative capacity mirrors ancient teachings about spiritual renewal and transformation, suggesting that physical regeneration and spiritual renewal are intimately connected through the pineal's functions. Understanding the pineal gland's role in consciousness has practical implications for spiritual development. Practices that support pineal health, such as maintaining regular sleep cycles, reducing exposure to artificial light at night, and engaging in meditation, can enhance its function. These practices create optimal conditions for spiritual growth while supporting physical well-being, demonstrating the inseparable nature of body and spirit. The second magus represents this wisdom of cycles, regeneration, and spiritual insight encoded in the pineal gland. Like the biblical magi who followed celestial patterns to find divine truth, the pineal gland follows cosmic rhythms to guide our consciousness toward higher awareness. Its position as a bridge between physical and spiritual realms makes it a crucial component in understanding the biological basis of spiritual experience. The pineal's wisdom teaches us that consciousness exists on a spectrum, with various states available to us through natural biological processes. By understanding and working with these processes, we can enhance our capacity for spiritual experience while maintaining physical health. This synthesis of biological function and spiritual potential represents the essence of sacred brain chemistry, where physical processes serve as a foundation for transcendent experience. The third magus, Pituitary Mysteries. The pituitary gland, often called the master gland of the human body, represents the third magus in our neurological trinity. This remarkable structure, no larger than a pea, sits in a small bony cavity at the base of the brain called the sella turcica, or Turkish saddle. Ancient mystics recognize this area as a sacred throne, where the master conductor of bodily functions resides, orchestrating a complex symphony of hormonal signals that influence every aspect of our physical and spiritual existence. The relationship between the pituitary gland and serotonin reveals profound connections to transcendent states of consciousness. While the pituitary doesn't directly produce serotonin, it works in concert with other brain regions to modulate serotonin levels, which profoundly influence our mood, perception, and spiritual awareness. This intricate dance of neurotransmitters and hormones creates the biological foundation for what mystics have long described as enlightened states of being. Within the pituitary's anterior and posterior lobes lies an extraordinary capacity to influence human consciousness through hormonal regulation. The anterior pituitary produces 6 crucial hormones that affect everything from growth and metabolism to stress response and reproduction. The posterior pituitary releases hormones that regulate water balance and facilitate bonding behaviors. This dual nature of the pituitary mirrors ancient teachings about the unified nature of material and spiritual existence. The pituitary's connection to transcendent states becomes particularly evident when we examine its role in the production of endorphins and other natural opioids. These compounds create states of bliss and unity consciousness that mystics throughout history have described in their writings. When early religious texts speak of divine nectar or celestial ambrosia, they may well have been referring to these natural compounds that the pituitary helps orchestrate. Moreover, the pituitary gland's location at the intersection of the body's midline and the base of the brain holds special significance. This positioning places it at a crucial energetic crossroads where ancient traditions believed physical and spiritual energies converge. Modern neuroscience confirms the pituitary's central role in maintaining homeostasis, suggesting that these ancient insights contained profound biological truths. The gland's relationship with the hypothalamus creates a powerful feedback system that ancient texts often depicted as a sacred marriage between heaven and earth. This partnership regulates crucial aspects of consciousness, including our stress response, emotional states, and cycles of rest and activity. Understanding this relationship helps explain why many spiritual practices focus on balancing these fundamental aspects of human experience. Through its regulation of growth hormone, the pituitary also influences our capacity for physical and spiritual transformation. Growth hormone doesn't just affect our physical development. It plays a role in brain function, tissue repair, and regeneration. This connects to ancient teachings about the body's potential for renewal and transformation through spiritual practices. The pituitary's role in producing prolactin, often associated with nurturing behaviors and feelings of connection, provides another link to transcendent experiences. States of deep meditation and spiritual communion often activate similar neurological pathways as those involved in bonds of love and attachment, suggesting that our capacity for spiritual connection may be biologically hardwired through the pituitary's influence. Understanding the pituitary as the third magus reveals how this master gland creates the conditions necessary for higher states of consciousness. Its ability to influence both physical and mental processes through hormonal regulation makes it a crucial bridge between material existence and spiritual experience. By recognizing and working with these natural biological processes, we can better understand and facilitate our own journey toward enlightened awareness. The mysteries of the pituitary continue to unfold as modern science reveals more about its complex functions. Yet its fundamental role as a master regulator of consciousness remains consistent with ancient wisdom traditions that recognized it as a sacred center of transformation and transcendence. This convergence of scientific understanding and spiritual insight points toward a deeper truth about the biological foundations of enlightened consciousness. The spinal gateway. The spinal column represents one of the most profound and sacred channels within human anatomy, serving as both a physical support structure and an energetic conduit for consciousness. Ancient wisdom traditions have long recognized the spine's crucial role in spiritual development, often depicting it as a serpentine force or a staff of enlightenment. Modern neuroscience now validates these ancestral insights, revealing the intricate relationship between the spinal cord and higher states of consciousness. The cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, system forms a remarkable hydraulic network that bathes and nurtures the entire central nervous system. This crystal clear fluid flows in rhythmic pulses, creating wave-like patterns that ancient mystics may have perceived as the movement of spiritual energy. The CSF serves multiple crucial functions, including the delivery of nutrients, removal of waste products, and protection of delicate neural tissues. This fluid system creates a unique environment that allows for optimal neural functioning and maintains the delicate balance necessary for consciousness. Within the spinal column, 31 pairs of spinal nerves branch out to form an elaborate communication network throughout the body. This systematic arrangement corresponds remarkably to ancient descriptions of energy centers or chakras positioned along the spine. The nerve roots emerging from the spinal cord create asymmetrical pattern that mirrors sacred geometric principles found in nature and religious architecture. Each vertebral level corresponds to specific physiological functions and psychological states, forming a hierarchical system of increasing complexity and consciousness. The spinal cord contains specialized neural pathways known as the ascending and descending tracts. These pathways facilitate bidirectional communication between the brain and body, carrying sensory information upward and motor commands downward. This two-way flow mirrors esoteric teachings about the rise of consciousness through spiritual practice and the descent of divine energy through grace. The dorsal columns, carrying fine touch and proprioception, can be likened to the subtle awareness developed through meditation, while the ventral pathways, controlling movement and autonomic functions, represent the manifestation of intention into physical reality. The spine's central canal, containing cerebrospinal fluid, creates a hollow tube that ancient texts often described as the path of spiritual energy. This canal maintains precise pressure relationships that influence brain function and consciousness states. Modern research has shown that changes in ceph flow and pressure can significantly impact cognitive function, mood, and perception. The pulsatile nature of CF flow creates rhythmic patterns that may facilitate altered states of consciousness during meditation and spiritual practices. The relationship between spinal health and consciousness extends beyond physical structure. The spine houses a complex network of mechanoreceptors and proprioceptors that contribute to our sense of self in space and time. These sensory systems provide crucial input for maintaining balance, coordination, and bodily awareness, all fundamental aspects of consciousness. When the spine is properly aligned and functioning optimally, it facilitates clearer communication between body and brain, potentially enhancing both physical and spiritual well-being. The spinal column's role in consciousness is further emphasized by its evolutionary development. The emergence of the upright posture in human evolution corresponded with significant advances in cognitive capacity and consciousness. This vertical alignment creates unique energy dynamics within the cerebrospinal system that may facilitate higher states of awareness. The human spine's S-shaped curve optimally distributes forces while creating specific fluid dynamics that could enhance neural function and consciousness. Understanding the spine as a sacred gateway helps bridge ancient wisdom with modern scientific insights. The spinal column serves as both a physical structure supporting our upright posture and a subtle energy channel facilitating the flow of consciousness. This dual nature reflects the intersection of material and spiritual aspects of human existence, making the spine a crucial focus for both physical health and spiritual development. Through this understanding, we can appreciate how ancient spiritual practices targeting spinal health and energy flow may have profound effects on consciousness and well-being. Eden's architecture. The human brain, with its intricate structures and complex organization, mirrors ancient spiritual descriptions of sacred spaces and divine architecture. Just as the Garden of Eden was described as a paradise protected by divine guardians, our brain contains sophisticated protective mechanisms and gateways that regulate consciousness and awareness. The blood-brain barrier serves as a celestial guard, much like the cherubim stationed at Eden's gates. This selective membrane acts as a vigilant sentinel, carefully controlling which substances can enter the brain's sacred space. This biological guardian maintains the delicate balance of our neural environment, protecting our consciousness from potentially harmful influences while allowing necessary nutrients and signals to pass through. Within this protected sanctuary, the brain's architecture reveals remarkable parallels to sacred geometrical patterns found in ancient temples and religious structures. The hippocampus, shaped like a seahorse or ram's horn, corresponds to the spiral patterns frequently found in sacred architecture. This structure, crucial for memory formation and spatial navigation, acts as a bridge between immediate experience and lasting wisdom, similar to how ancient temples served as bridges between earthly and divine realms. The brain's ventricular system, with its 4 interconnected chambers, mirrors the 4 rivers of Eden described in ancient texts. These fluid-filled spaces carry cerebrospinal fluid, the sacred waters that nurture and protect our neural tissues. Like the mythological rivers that brought life to paradise, these ventricular channels distribute vital nutrients and remove waste products, maintaining the purity of our neural environment. The layered structure of the cerebral cortex, with its 6 distinct layers, corresponds to ancient cosmological models of creation. Each layer serves specific functions, from receiving sensory input to processing complex thoughts, forming a hierarchical arrangement that resembles the ascending levels of consciousness described in spiritual traditions. This architectural organization allows for the transformation of raw sensory data into refined conscious experience, much like the spiritual transformation described in sacred texts. At the center of this neural Eden lies the third ventricle, surrounded by the thalamus, hypothalamus, and pineal gland. This region corresponds to the sacred center described in various spiritual traditions, where divine consciousness manifests in material form. The proximity of these structures facilitates intimate communication between different aspects of consciousness, integrating sensory experience, circadian rhythms, and hormonal regulation into a coherent whole. The brain's white matter tracts, forming elaborate commissures and pathways, create an intricate network reminiscent of sacred geometric patterns found in mandalas and religious art. These neural highways, like the paths in a sacred garden, enable communication between different regions of our consciousness, allowing for the integration of various aspects of experience into a unified whole. The corpus callosum, the great bridge between the brain's hemispheres, serves as a sacred gateway between different modes of consciousness. Like the rainbow bridge of Norse mythology or the straight path of Islamic tradition, this structure enables the integration of logical and intuitive thinking, linking different aspects of our awareness into a harmonious whole. Throughout this neural architecture, specialized cells called astrocytes form a living matrix that supports and nurtures neural function. These star-shaped cells, whose name literally means star cells, mirror the celestial symbolism found in sacred architecture. Like the stars that guided ancient travelers, these cells provide essential guidance and support for neural development and function. Understanding the brain's sacred architecture reveals how biological structure supports consciousness and spiritual experience. This divine architecture provides the physical foundation for our highest mental and spiritual functions, demonstrating how material form can serve as a vessel for transcendent experience. By recognizing these parallel patterns between ancient wisdom and neural organization, we gain deeper insight into the relationship between physical structure and conscious experience. The tree of neural life. The human nervous system represents one of nature's most intricate and awe-inspiring designs, mirroring the sacred geometry found throughout the universe. Like the mythological tree of life present in numerous spiritual traditions, our neural architecture branches outward in fractal patterns that carry life-giving signals throughout our entire being. This profound parallel between biological structure and sacred symbolism reveals deeper truths about consciousness and existence. The central nervous system, comprised of the brain and spinal cord, forms the trunk of this neural tree. From this central column, major nerve bundles branch outward like powerful limbs, subdividing into increasingly fine networks that reach every cell in our body. This branching pattern follows the same mathematical principles found in actual trees, river systems, and lightning bolts, the golden ratio and Fibonacci sequence that ancient mystics recognized as divine signatures in nature. Within the brain itself, neurons branch in dendritic patterns that create vast communication networks. A single neuron can connect with thousands of others through these branching extensions, forming a living network that processes information in ways that mirror natural growth patterns. The axons of these neurons, wrapped in protective myelin sheaths, extend like roots and branches to carry electrical impulses throughout the neural forest of our consciousness. The nervous system's tree-like structure serves both practical and symbolic functions. Practically, it provides an efficient distribution system for signals and nutrients while maintaining the flexibility needed for growth and adaptation. Symbolically, it connects the physical realm, represented by the roots and lower branches, with the spiritual realm, represented by the upper branches reaching toward heaven, just as the mythological tree of life bridges earthly and divine dimensions. Blood vessels feeding the nervous system follow similar branching patterns, creating a parallel distribution network that nourishes these neural pathways. This vascular system intertwines with neural tissue in ways that optimize resource delivery while minimizing energy expenditure, another example of nature's elegant efficiency. The cerebrospinal fluid system adds another layer to this complex architecture, flowing through ventricles and spaces that form river-like channels within the neural landscape. Ancient wisdom traditions recognized these patterns long before modern science could verify them. The Kabbalistic tree of life, with its interconnected sephirot, mirrors the way neural networks process and transmit information through linked nodes and pathways. The Norse world tree Yggdrasil, connecting 9 worlds, parallels how our nervous system integrates different levels of consciousness and physical function through its branching architecture. This neural tree also demonstrates remarkable plasticity, the ability to grow new connections and prune unnecessary ones. Like a living tree responding to environmental conditions, our nervous system constantly adapts and remodels itself based on experience and need. This dynamic quality allows for learning, healing, and the development of higher consciousness, supporting the ancient wisdom that spiritual growth requires both cultivation and occasional pruning. Understanding the nervous system as a tree of life provides deep insights into how consciousness emerges from biological structure. Each branch and subbranch serves specific functions while contributing to the whole, creating a unified system that supports both physical and spiritual development. The fractal nature of this architecture suggests that consciousness itself may operate on similar principles of self-similar patterns repeating at different scales. This biological tree of life reminds us that we are part of a larger pattern of existence, connected to both earthly and cosmic realms through our neural architecture. By understanding and working with these natural patterns, we can better cultivate our own growth and development, allowing our consciousness to flourish like a well-tended tree reaching toward the light of higher awareness. Sacred chemistry. The intricate dance of neurotransmitters and hormones within our brain creates the symphony of consciousness that we experience as both mundane awareness and transcendent states. This sacred chemistry, understood by ancient wisdom traditions and now validated by modern science, forms the foundation of our perception, emotion, and spiritual experiences. The interaction between neurotransmitters represents a sophisticated system of chemical messaging that the ancients may have intuited through their own deep meditative practices. Dopamine, serotonin, and melatonin work in concert, each playing essential roles while influencing and modulating each other's effects. Dopamine, often associated with reward and pleasure, actually serves as a fundamental building block of consciousness itself, helping to create our sense of reality and meaning. When dopamine interacts with serotonin, it creates states of heightened awareness coupled with deep inner peace, a biochemical signature often reported during profound spiritual experiences. The hormonal alchemy taking place within our bodies reflects the transformative processes described in ancient spiritual texts. The conversion of serotonin to melatonin in the pineal gland mirrors the alchemical transformation of base materials into higher substances. This process occurs in darkness, both literally in the absence of light and metaphorically in the depths of meditation or contemplative practice. The pineal gland's production of melatonin not only regulates our sleep-wake cycles, but also produces powerful endogenous compounds that can induce mystical experiences and alter consciousness. The pituitary gland, meanwhile, orchestrates a complex hormonal cascade that affects every cell in our body. Its secretions influence growth, metabolism, stress response, and reproductive function. These hormones interact with neurotransmitters in ways that can either enhance or inhibit spiritual experiences. The release of oxytocin, often called the love hormone, creates feelings of connection and unity, states that mystics have long described as central to spiritual awakening. At the molecular level, these chemical messengers share remarkable structural similarities with compounds found in sacred plants used by various spiritual traditions throughout history. The tryptamine backbone present in both serotonin and melatonin appears in many naturally occurring psychoactive compounds. This molecular resonance suggests that our bodies contain the inherent capability to produce substances that can induce transcendent states of consciousness. The building blocks of consciousness extend beyond individual neurotransmitters and hormones to include the complex protein structures that allow these molecules to function. Receptor sites on neurons act as locks, with neurotransmitters serving as keys that unlock specific neural pathways. The arrangement of these receptor sites follows patterns that reflect sacred geometry, creating networks that process and integrate information in ways that give rise to conscious experience. The blood-brain barrier serves as a protective alchemical vessel, carefully regulating which substances can enter this sacred space of neural activity. This selective barrier ensures that the delicate balance of neurotransmitters remains optimal for proper brain function, while also protecting these sensitive systems from disruption. Understanding this protective mechanism helps explain why certain spiritual practices, such as fasting or breath work, can alter consciousness by changing the chemistry of the blood and, subsequently, the brain. The synthesis of neurotransmitters relies on precise enzymatic processes that convert amino acids and other precursor molecules into active compounds. These biochemical pathways represent a form of natural alchemy, transforming simple molecular building blocks into the complex chemicals that enable consciousness. The fact that many of these processes require specific minerals and vitamins explains why ancient traditions often emphasized particular diets or supplements as part of spiritual practice. Modern research continues to uncover new aspects of this sacred chemistry, revealing additional layers of complexity in how these various compounds interact. The discovery of the endocannabinoid system, for example, has shown how the body produces its own compounds that can induce altered states of consciousness and facilitate healing. This internal pharmacy of consciousness, altering substances, suggests that the human organism is naturally equipped with the chemical tools necessary for spiritual transformation. The Claustrum Codes. The claustrum represents one of the most enigmatic and fascinating structures within the human brain, serving as a hidden conductor orchestrating the symphony of consciousness. This thin, irregular sheet of neurons, nestled deep within the cerebral hemispheres, acts as a master integrator of information flowing through various brain regions. The claustrum's unique position and extensive connectivity patterns suggest it plays a crucial role in binding together our sensory experiences, thoughts, and awareness into a coherent whole. Ancient wisdom traditions often spoke of hidden chambers within the temple of the body where transformation occurs. The claustrum, with its concealed location and profound influence on consciousness, embodies this concept perfectly. Its neural networks form intricate patterns that mirror sacred geometrical forms found in religious and mystical artwork across cultures. These patterns facilitate the distribution and integration of information throughout the brain, creating a unified field of awareness that ancient texts might have described as divine consciousness. The claustrum maintains bidirectional connections with nearly every region of the cortex, acting as a central hub in the brain's complex communication network. This extensive connectivity allows it to synchronize different aspects of our experience, from sensory input to emotional responses and cognitive processing. Like the ancient concept of the divine messenger traveling between heavenly and earthly realms, the claustrum serves as an intermediary between various levels of neural processing. Through its vast network of connections, the claustrum helps coordinate the activity of different brain regions, ensuring they work together harmoniously. This coordination is essential for focused attention, conscious awareness, and the integration of sensory information into meaningful experiences. The claustrum's role in this process mirrors traditional teachings about the integration of body, mind, and spirit, where hidden forces work to unite disparate elements into a coherent whole. Recent scientific research has revealed that the claustrum contains specialized neurons that respond to multiple types of sensory input simultaneously. These multisensory neurons enable the integration of different sensory modalities, contributing to our rich, unified experience of reality. This biological mechanism reflects ancient wisdom about the interconnectedness of all things and the presence of underlying unity beneath apparent diversity. The claustrum's involvement in attention and consciousness suggests it plays a crucial role in spiritual and meditative experiences. When functioning optimally, it helps filter out distracting information and maintains focus on relevant stimuli, whether external sensory input or internal states of consciousness. This filtering mechanism parallels traditional teachings about achieving higher states of awareness through focused attention and the elimination of mental noise. Understanding the claustrum's distribution systems provides insight into how consciousness emerges from neural activity. Its extensive network of connections allows for the rapid sharing of information across brain regions, creating the synchronized neural activity patterns associated with conscious awareness. This biological mechanism may underlie the experience of unity consciousness described in mystical traditions. The claustrum's role in integrating brain functions extends beyond simple information processing. It appears to be involved in emotional regulation, memory formation, and decision-making processes. This multifaceted involvement suggests it serves as a crucial node in the neural networks, supporting both ordinary consciousness and extraordinary states of awareness. The claustrum's complex functionality mirrors traditional teachings about hidden centers in the body that influence multiple aspects of human experience. By studying the claustrum's codes, its patterns of connectivity and methods of information integration, we gain deeper insight into the biological basis of consciousness and its potential for transformation. This understanding bridges the gap between ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience, revealing how sacred teachings about consciousness align with the actual structure and function of our nervous system. Neural transcendence. The journey through sacred brain chemistry culminates in understanding how we can practically apply this ancient modern synthesis to enhance human consciousness and spiritual development. Our neural architecture, designed with remarkable precision, holds keys to transcendent states that mystics and spiritual teachers have described throughout history. This chapter explores how we can consciously engage these biological systems to facilitate higher states of awareness and consciousness. Modern research has revealed that specific breathing techniques, meditation practices, and focused attention can directly influence our neural chemistry. When we understand how to properly stimulate the production and release of neurotransmitters through conscious practices, we can create optimal conditions for transcendent experiences. This isn't about artificially inducing states, but rather about working harmoniously with our natural biological systems to unlock their inherent potential. The practical application of this knowledge begins with understanding the circadian rhythms that govern our brain chemistry. By aligning our practices with these natural cycles, we can enhance the effectiveness of spiritual practices. Morning meditation, for instance, coincides with natural peaks in cortisol and other awakening hormones, while evening practices can take advantage of rising melatonin levels that facilitate deeper states of consciousness. Scientific research has demonstrated that regular meditation practice leads to measurable changes in brain structure and function. These changes include increased gray matter density in areas associated with self-awareness, compassion, and introspection. The implications of these findings suggest that conscious engagement with our neural systems can lead to lasting positive transformations in consciousness and behavior. The future of this field holds tremendous promise. Current research is exploring the use of advanced neuroimaging techniques to better understand the neural correlates of mystical experiences. Studies using fMRI and AG measurements during deep meditative states are revealing patterns of brain activity that correspond to reported transcendent experiences. This emerging data helps bridge the gap between subjective spiritual experiences and objective scientific observation. The integration of technology with traditional practices opens new possibilities for consciousness exploration. Neurofeedback systems, for example, can help practitioners refine their meditation techniques by providing real-time information about brainwave patterns. Virtual reality environments designed to facilitate specific brain states may offer novel approaches to consciousness expansion. However, it's crucial to maintain perspective on the role of technology in spiritual development. While these tools can provide valuable feedback and support, the essential work of consciousness transformation remains an inner journey. The biological systems we've explored throughout this book function as a framework for understanding, but the actual experience of transcendence goes beyond mechanical processes. Looking ahead, several promising research directions emerge. Studies into the relationship between quantum physics and consciousness may reveal deeper levels of reality encoded in our neural architecture. Investigation of non-local consciousness and the potential for direct mind-to-mind communication suggests possibilities that challenge our current understanding of consciousness boundaries. The practical implications of this research extend beyond individual spiritual practice. Understanding the biological basis of transcendent states has potential applications in mental health treatment, addiction recovery, and trauma healing. By working with these natural systems, we may develop more effective approaches to psychological well-being and personal transformation. The convergence of ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience continues to yield insights that can benefit humanity. As we move forward, maintaining balance between scientific rigor and spiritual wisdom becomes increasingly important. The future of consciousness research lies in this careful integration, honoring both the objective findings of science and the subjective truths of personal experience. This understanding of neural transcendence provides a framework for conscious evolution, both individual and collective. By working with our sacred brain chemistry in informed and intentional ways, we can facilitate the expansion of human consciousness and potential. The journey continues as we explore new frontiers in the science of spirituality and the spirit of science.